Hey guys, what's good? Welcome to JJJBoxing, and we have a really good fight coming up. A trilogy. It's Gennady, Golovkin, Triple G versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. It's the third fight, and it's been long awaited, I would say. To be honest, like, it should have happened obviously like a while ago. It should have happened after the second fight right away, considering Golovkin won both of them, yet they give it to the other guy. But it is what it is, right? It'd be one thing if Golovkin won both of those fights, like, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But I have a feeling if they gave it to Golovkin in the second fight, Canelo would have got an immediate rematch probably. But that's just boxing, though. That's politics in boxing. But anyway, it's here, and I'm actually getting pretty hyped up for it. Like, I wasn't hyped up for it. It was weird. I noticed it with a lot of other people as well in the boxing industry. It wasn't that much hype behind it when it first got announced. Like, sure, we were like, oh wow, that was quick, because Canelo just came off of the Bivol loss, so it was kind of like, wow, he's fighting already, and he picked Golovkin, so it was kind of more like, oh, that was kind of quick turnaround. But why are you meowing, kitty? Yeah, my cat's, I don't know why he's meowing. I'm filming a video, little bastard. Anyway, yeah, so it was like a really quick turnaround. But I didn't really get hyped up for it until, like, I would say this week. It's starting to get real now. Like, it's sinking in, and I'm getting really excited actually. And I notice a lot of other boxing, like, media and people it's finally hitting them, and they're getting excited for it, because, like, when you actually think of it, okay, Golovkin is 40 years old, and yes, he should have won both fights. At least the first fight guaranteed. Second fight was closer. I still thought Golovkin won, but whatever. It was closer. They gave it to Canelo. So Golovkin is 40, and he still hasn't lost yet. And I know a lot of people say, yeah, he hasn't looked the same, and he's had they're like, oh, in the Murata fight, he didn't look the same. And it is true, he got tagged up, and it looked like he was breathing hard, but he knocked the guy out. Like, what more do you want from him? He knocked the guy out. Murata's not like a bum. Like, obviously, Canelo's been fighting better competition. Like, Bivol is, like, way better than any of Golovkin's opponents, I would say, right? But still, though, you got to look at it like this. Like, Golovkin seems like he's only staying in boxing just to fight Canelo. I feel like, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like that's like his motivation, and I feel like he's finally getting what he wanted, and he's gonna put it all on the line. He doesn't let emotions, though, take over, so he won't get like emotional or anything, but he is gonna dig deep in this fight. And I found it pretty good how Abel Sanchez, his previous trainer, was kind of like, I would say, butthurt that he got dropped as the trainer. I remember he was talking a bit of negative stuff about Golovkin. I think it had to do with money or something like that. I don't know. That's what he was saying, but who knows what actually happened. Trainers fall out with fighters all the time, and it always happens after losses or after something like that, right? But anyway, Abel thought Golovkin won both the fights, but he said that Golovkin is one of the most he is like so strong physically and mentally, it's hard to break him. And I found that the way he said it like with he was, you could feel his words when he was saying that. He's like, Golovkin's mentally, and his mental strength and physical strength, it's hard. He just overwhelms guys, like, and they don't know what to do anymore, because Golovkin walks you down, and it's like he's just like a predator, right? And the other opponent is the prey, and they sense the predator is trying to kill them, he didn't say that exactly, but he did say like this. I'm trying to explain kind of what he said because I forget word for word what he said, but pretty much like Golovkin's a predator and he's attacking the prey, and the prey senses that they're gonna kill you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It's like a bear. He's attacking a deer. There's nothing the deer can do anymore, right? Like the deer can try to fight back, but just the bear is just too physically and mentally he's set on killing that deer, or you know what I mean? That's just kind of an example. And he feels like that's where he kind of got away from in the second fight. He boxed more, and he says, don't get me wrong, Golovkin's a great, magnificent boxer, but he didn't play to his best strength. He didn't play to. He says Golovkin's at his best when he just walks you down and breaks you down with his presence. And though he still won it in that second fight, Abel said, he said, that's not just what he does best. That's not what he does best. Even though he does it very well still on a world-class level, his strength is doing what he did when he had all those successful KOs in a row. I think it was the longest KO streak in boxing at that time, or maybe ever, I think, in the middleweight division. And it was just something crazy. I forget what it was, but it was just nuts. The guy was the best thing in boxing at the time when he was in his prime, knocking guys out. No one wanted to fight him. Canelo didn't want to fight him. Canelo vacated his belt after he beat Miguel Cotto, so he didn't have to fight Golovkin right away. It was crazy. Like, no one wanted to fight this guy. And then the guys that did want to fight him just got knocked out, you know what I mean? So, obviously it was strategic on Canelo's team's part for avoiding Golovkin when Golovkin was on that knockout streak. He fought Danny Jacobs, I think, before Canelo, did he not? I could be wrong, but I think he did. Like, Golovkin fought Jacobs before he fought Canelo. And I know, I'm not saying, like, I know Canelo fought Danny Jacobs too. I'm saying that didn't Golovkin fight Jacobs before he fought Canelo? I think he did. And I think you could say you saw some slippage there, but I think Danny was just, he's a slick fighter, Danny Jacobs. Obviously, he's kind of fell off a bit too, but I feel like Canelo, when he started seeing those, his team seeing those kind of fights, then they're like, oh, now we want to fight him. You know what I mean? I could be wrong though. Did he fight Canelo first? I'm not sure. But anyway, bottom line is, Canelo was offered he was the mandatory, Triple G was the mandatory for Canelo's belt at 160. He vacated it. That's how scared he was, pretty much. His team was. Like, obviously no fighter at that level is scared of the actual opponent, but his team were like, no, we're not fighting Triple G right now. You're not ready. So, but the thing that makes this fight kind of interesting right now, that it's happening now, is because Canelo's coming off of a loss. And Canelo, when you look at it, I know it could just be stylistically that Bivol is just, he can't beat Bivol just stylistically. He can't beat Mayweather stylistically. He had trouble with Laura. Even though I thought he beat Laura because he was more active and Laura just didn't throw enough. That a lot of people thought Laura won that fight. I thought Canelo won that fight when I first watched it. But I haven't seen that fight in so long, and I didn't like rewatch it. It wasn't one of those fights you want to like rewatch really. But Caleb Plant was winning rounds against him. You could say he was up on the cards. Obviously, the judges never have the opponent up on the cards officially, which is sad. But in the fans' eyes, Caleb, a lot of them had Caleb up, including me. I thought it was close though, but I thought Caleb won more rounds, I would say, that I remember. And who else? Yeah, like Billy Joe was doing all right. But that was like, he got stopped on, I think it was only like round 6. So that really, Caleb was round 10, so he could have finished the fight and legitimately had a claim at saying he wanted a rematch. But what I'm trying to say is boxers give Canelo problems. You know what I mean? People with fundamental boxing skills. And obviously Golovkin doesn't have the legs that maybe he once had. But he was never really a mover like say the way Caleb moves, the way let's say Laura moves. Golovkin moves he uses his footwork in a different way than the traditional American boxer would. He doesn't he's not on his toes and moving around. His feet are planted, but he knows exactly where to position his feet and how. So his footwork in that sense is good. That he knows just how to be in the right position at the right time. So it doesn't look flashy like a Manny Pacquiao footwork or a Caleb Plant kind of methodical circling. He's not doing that kind of stuff. It looks slower and it doesn't look as obviously eye-catching, but Golovkin does have good footwork, and that comes with the fundamental boxing skill that he has and the great jab, right? So what I'm trying to say is Canelo falling off a bit that he lost to Bivol, or is it just stylistically he's always going to look like that no matter where he is in his career? He's in his prime now still, he claims, but maybe it is wear and tear since he did start boxing at 15. He's had a lot of grueling fights, so you could say maybe he is deteriorating a little bit now. He's reached the peak. Or is it just, like I said, it doesn't matter what stage of career he's in. Doesn't matter if he's 20, 30, 32, what he is right now. He's always just going to struggle against fundamental boxing skills like a Laura, a Mayweather, Caleb Plant, Gennady Golovkin, a Bivol. Those guys who actually have boxing skills. And then guys who are very... See, the problem with Caleb and Billy Joe is they have the skills, but they're a little bit too timid, in my opinion. Whereas Golovkin and Bivol are more assertive, and they'll land clean shots, and they're not afraid. And I could say that Caleb and Billy Joe are more... It's like they taste the power, and they're just trying to pot shot and win the round, and obviously they don't want to get hit, but I feel like they don't want to sit down on their shots as much as a Golovkin or a Bivol would, because Bivol started to sit down on his shots as he gets more comfortable. Whereas the other fighters like Caleb and Billy Joe never really did. So they can't hurt Canelo. Yet they're winning rounds, but they can't hurt him. And then Mayweather was just completely on a totally different level. Canelo was 22 at the time. He had no chance, really, experience-wise, speed, everything. Mayweather just won every round pretty much. So he didn't even have to hurt Canelo. He was just so far above him. But obviously if Caleb fought that Canelo at 22, he would have won easily. Laura, any good boxer with that style would beat Canelo at 22, in my opinion. That fundamental boxing skill. And then guys who kind of... even Miguel Cotto has fundamental boxing skills, and that was a very close fight, a split decision. Could have went either way in that fight, to be honest, too. So it's hard to say if Canelo is falling off a bit, or it's just he just struggles with that style. And luckily for him, Golovkin does like to trade with people, and he is more stationary. He doesn't move as much as these other guys, and... obviously he has great power, but is the age maybe affecting Golovkin's legs even more? Well, where he'll get hit more now, and that will favor Canelo's style a bit more than a Bivol would with fresh legs, right? So we'll find out, but the one thing with Eastern European fighters like Paulie Malignaggi does say, mentally they do not break unless they're drinking a lot of vodka and don't give a fuck like Sergey Kovalev in training camp. Other than that, though, when they're on point, Eastern European fighters, they're just their mentality. You're not scaring them. You're not gonna bewilder them into thinking they're not gonna back down, and they're not gonna be timid if they're on point. Like I said, so that's the difference there. So what I find interesting is Canelo's coming off a loss. You could say he lost a fair bit of rounds against Caleb as well. And Um, he lost obviously a lot of rounds against Bivol. So two recent opponents have put up a lot of winning rounds against Canelo recently. Whereas Gennady Golovkin, obviously, he got hit up a lot. He got hit up a lot by Murata and Derevyanchenko. Obviously, these aren't bums, right? Like I said, but Derevyanchenko, I think that was a tough fight too. It's been a while though, so I kind of forget. But I remember that was tough, and Golovkin didn't look impressive. He didn't get the knockout in that fight either. I don't think it went to decision, and you could say that's one of his worst performances. Um, but the Murata fight, the only thing I didn't really like was he looked like he was gassing out and he was getting hit a lot. But other than that, he got the knockout and he like when he hurt Murata, he finished him. So like the killer instinct is still there. So I like that. It's just yeah, the breathing heavy and taking a lot of shots is a little bit concerning. Other than that, though, he didn't look like I said. If any other fighter did that to Murata, it'd be praised. But we hold Golovkin to a high standard, so obviously, yeah, like back in the day when Golovkin was knocking out everyone in that knockout streak, he probably would have got Murata out there with ease without any trouble at all, right? So yeah, I find that interesting. One guy's 40, but he hasn't lost ever in my opinion. And officially, he's only lost to Canelo, and then Canelo just coming off of a loss. Um, so it kind of it's there's some intriguement there. And the one X factor I find is Canelo does seem agitated about always like about Golovkin, and I know Golovkin mentioned it. He says in the face-off and in the press conference, he says I don't know what's his deal. He seems very agitated, and he doesn't know why. And then people will say the reason why he is like that is because deep down he thought he really didn't deserve those wins, especially the first fight. And he's never admitted it though, but deep down, and he knows that he hears the fans and they know what they think. So really, some people believe he hasn't won yet. So that's why he's agitated. And then the steroid allegations, which there's nothing you can really do about that. He got convicted, right? Whether or not it was an accident or the beef he was eating or whatever. It's just I just find it funny how a fighter who and I think Eddie Reynoso is a isn't he like a butcher or a meat someone in his camp is a butcher or something and has their meat shop or something like that. Anyway, it's just funny how because I know Mexico it has been a problem. They use drugs in their meat down there when raising the cattle. But it's just funny how you're enrolled in drug testing and the fact that you know Mexico's known for this stuff and you're still eating random meat in Mexico when you're getting paid millions of dollars and you're putting that in jeopardy by eating random meat. Like if you're a millionaire, I think you should be ordering prime beef or whatever you're getting from a country or an origin that you know is clean. But obviously he was so it's either he is just very negligent and very like stupid that he would do that and put the fight in jeopardy and his reputation on the line, or he actually is masking something and he was doing drugs. It's either or. It's either you're very stupid that you were doing that, or like I said, or someone in his team was very stupid. Maybe not Canelo, right? Maybe whoever was feeding him the beef, whoever got the beef for him, or they knew what they were doing. So it's either one of the two because there is no other option. You know there's testing. You know Mexico's known for that, and yet you're getting beef from an unknown origin. So that kind of doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, maybe that lingers in the people's minds too, right? And that's why he's agitated as well, because he tested positive, and it happened during his toughest fight against Golovkin. I think it was the second fight, right? That he got tested positive. He got popped and suspended. Or was it the first one? I forget. I think it might have been the second one. But so I think those two factors, that the fact that deep down maybe he knows the fan and the fans know that he didn't deserve at least one of those fights, possibly both in a lot of people's eyes, in my opinion, or the steroid allegations, right? Which weren't allegations, actually, it was proven, right? So Yeah, like I don't know if he's if he's taking it personally. I don't know. I really don't know. Golovkin though, he's not taking it personally. He's all business. He keeps a level head, like all the Eastern European fighters do. It's hard to crack them sometimes, what they're thinking and what they're feeling. People from that part of the world, like, are they like deep down? Is Golovkin really pissed off at Canelo and doesn't like him? Because he won't say come out and say that, but in his mind, is he like, fuck this guy? Like, big drama show's coming to you. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, is he thinking that, right? Um, we'll find out. But all I'm saying is like the motivation for Golovkin to win this fight is a lot more than than Canelo, I believe. But both fighters could be like both fighters are motivated in different ways. But I just feel like Golovkin's motivation's even more because he got robbed of two victories. The only man that ever to get a win over him, and it was wrongful for him to get those wins, and he feels like he was wronged. And then the steroid allegations, and why is this guy the king of the sport? This guy's number one pound for pound. That should have been me. I beat him both times, but I got robbed. And this guy's considered the best shit on the block, and no one talks about me anymore as much. And that's kind of what happened. It's kind of sad when you think about it, because Golovkin should still be undefeated. So it's kind of weird how people will put Canelo number one pound for pound, and Golovkin's not even the top 10 anymore. Like, what? Anyway, I feel like that's just fuel to the fire. This is the only fight that Golovkin wants, and there's just a lot of added motivation there for Golovkin. As long as his body cooperates, and if you check out the Teddy Atlas interview we had on Teddy Atlas's YouTube channel, he looked he looked young. It was weird. Like, it looks like he drank the fountain of youth or something. Like, Triple G looked really like in his 20s in that interview. I don't know if it was just the lighting and he just shaved or something, but he looked really young in that. So I haven't seen much training though, recent training. It's hard to find training videos. So if you see any training videos that are recent, let me know and put it in the comments section for me to watch. I seen some Canelo footage. Pretty much it's just always him just hitting like hard hooks on the bag and stuff. So it's hard to really gauge anything there. But I'd like to see more how Golovkin looks in training. But yeah, I think it's going to be another good fight. Obviously, the styles match up very good. And there's a lot of different factors involved in this. The fact that Canelo is coming down in weight again. And it's never good to keep on fluctuating weight the way he is. Going from 175 to 168 to 175, back down to 168. Like, I think he's done that many times. He's done that a couple times already. And when you keep on doing that, you're fucking with your body, and your body wants to just stay at 175. So now he has to drain himself to 168. Now, I don't know if that will be an issue, because I know someone posted a video of him, like, with the wetsuit on, or the, whatever you call it. And, yeah, he's just, water's coming out of the bottom of his, bottom of his pant legs, like, they're just like water just coming out like a pool. You know what I mean? Like he pissed himself or something. It's crazy how much water they can drain themselves. Like, literally puddles of water coming out of the pant leg, like at the bottom. So I don't know. Like, I don't think it will be that big of an issue, the weight, to be honest. But it's never good when you keep on fluctuating like that. I feel like obviously Canelo's not as fast as he used to be, like he was at the 160, so maybe that could be a factor. Because when he fought Golovkin the first two times, he was at 160, and I felt like he looked leaner. And I feel like lately at 175, he looks more bodybuilding, more bulkier, and he looks slower, to be honest, in my opinion. Now, that could just be that he's fighting topper level guys, but then again, Kovalev was kind of he's past his prime and he's on the downhill, and yet he lost a lot of rounds against Kovalev. And so it's hard to say. I would say so, though, that light heavyweight is just, it's too much weight for Canelo. his body is not naturally supposed to fight at that weight. Like, he's lost speed, in my opinion. He looks more sluggish. He looks slower. Sure, he has power, but I feel like 160 is probably the best weight for Canelo, and Triple G as well. 168 max, though, I don't think Canelo should ever go back to 175, to be honest. It's just too much. 168 is his absolute maximum. And even 168, I feel like guys can beat Canelo eventually at 168. Like a David Benavidez, Zurdo, Ramirez, or is he at 175 now? I thought he was at 168. But guys like Bivol and stuff can actually make 168, right? I feel like 168, though, that's the limit for Canelo. Even that is too much, to be honest. 160 is the best weight for Canelo, where he retains more of that lean speed that he has. So maybe it kind of equals out. Canelo's slower, but so is Golovkin slower now because he's older. So I'm going with Triple G. My man, Triple G. He was my favorite, one of my favorite fighters. Manny Pacquiao was my favorite fighter. He was my second favorite fighter. I'm rolling with him. As long as his body cooperates at 40, he's going to win this fight. I'm telling you right now. His jab, his boxing skills, and his motivation that he got wronged in the past. He's all come with all that. Canelo, on the other hand, he's going to bring it too. He's coming off of a loss. He has doubts. He's going to try to silence those doubts in the fight. He's mentally strong as well, obviously. You have to be at that level. And we're in for a good fight, though. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Seeing if I forgot anything to say. Yeah, I just feel like if the age doesn't come into play for Golovkin, he's going to win this fight. He has all the motivation in the world to win it, and he has all the skills in the world. Can he stop Canelo? I mean, anyone can get stopped, right? Especially when you're a puncher like Golovkin. He has an even higher percent chance of knocking someone out. Canelo has one of the best chins probably in boxing. So does Golovkin. So it's kind of hard to see how these guys would get knocked out, but anything is possible. And you would say if someone was going to get knocked out, it'd be like a referee stoppage. It's just hard to see someone not getting up from a punch, but I think it has to do with their just solid defense, really. Like, and I don't mean like, I mean defense in the way that they always have their chin tucked and they always have their guard nice and tight. So it's kind of like their position of their chin is just always ready to take the impact kind of thing. Even though they get hit, Canelo and Triple G, like they don't slip all the punches, but I just feel like they have such a solid chin and body frame that it's like hard to rock these guys. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. Like they're just sturdy. So maybe not like, I guess that wouldn't be defense. They're just physically sturdy and they can take a punch. But yeah, yeah, I'm going with Triple G. Just the better boxing skills. Thought he won both of the first fights. He's got the power. Yeah, the jab is key. And he's going to bring it all. And then Canelo, he's going to question himself, so he's going to find out answers. He's going to try to push the action as well to find out, was that loss a fluke? Can I still do this? And he's going to bring his best effort. So that's why, yeah, it's going to be a good fight. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. And we'll stay tuned for more fight week stuff, like the media workouts and stuff, to see how they look. And yeah, I can't wait. We got Triple G versus Canelo 3. Finally, 4 years in the making. Let's go. By the way, guys, if you're wondering what that noise was in the back, that's just my my dog sleeping. My Shih Tzu snoring. How you doing? You okay? What are you doing? You waking up? Saying hi? Hi to the fans? To the boxing fans out there? What would you be? Are you middleweight Shih Tzu? She's featherweight? Anyway, guys, Triple J Boxing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.